Now you're late.
Now you got it. At 7 o'clock, they call the meeting to order. Did everybody have a chance to review the previous minutes?
Yes.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes of the previous meeting as written.
I'll second that motion. Who's taking notes for
I
time?
was trying to jot them down, but I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to do that and run the meeting at the same time. So motion was made by Lance, seconded by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 4-0. Finances. Come on up, Tom.
Evening, Tom.
Tom Jameson, treasurer.
Thanks.
Did we get reports this month?
I left everything out in the other room.
Back, right? What the hell?
I was helping John set up. I left everything out there.
They're in
The
the
blue,
Sorry, thank you.
So, yes, you did.
we did, we just,
We didn't get them
Just
from the
thought it was
bin.
in that select board folder where
We slacked.
it's okay.
so Tom, just while Nikki's grabbing that, we did start at the last meeting. It's the last meeting, it was the last.
That
meeting.
was the last meeting.
Trying to nail down some of the budget stuff.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
We will have questions for you
Thank you.
going forward.
Sure, and if you have meetings or something or questions in advance, I'm
Yep.
sure you do, because there's numbers that I can drill down to, of course. If they're confusing or if they're in the wrong place or something.
Well, there was a couple we were trying to figure, just before we jump in.
Yeah.
Like on the front page, we still have that ARPA. On the very front.
With nothing in it.
Yeah, can we? Maybe it's adding another thing here or not, but. I would like to see the money that we put aside for grant writing. I would like to see a running tally of that.
Okay.
It was monies that we transferred out of the ARPA into a separate thing
Yep.
because it had to be
So it's kind
transferred.
of like a subtotal.
Absolutely, much like everything else. Yeah, it's a subtotal.
Yeah, see.
But,
Now, is that in its own bank account or is that? kind
No,
of within?
no, it's within, it's just that an allotted money used specifically for grant writing and. And we were just trying to find that the other day, because what we were thinking is we wanted to do something similar to what we did with, like the equipment repair fund. Like, we know we want to keep, say,
$35,000.
$35,000 in that account at all times, or in that
Yep.
lump at all times. And if we
Put that in the
spend
budget
15 through the year, yep, exactly, we'd vote or ask for 15,000 to offset that
Okay.
cost.
Yeah.
That way we're kind of staying on top of that and making the best out of the money that we've gotten.
Let me hunt up those numbers for next time, or I can drop. a
Yeah,
note in.
I think Tammy actually could probably help you with that, because she probably knows roundabout when we made that motion to transfer from the ARPA funds to the.
So that wasn't a town meeting minutes, that was. a
No,
separate
No, there was a select board meeting. Yeah.
For budget meeting or something.
Yeah, it was, speaking of the equipment repair fund. Remember, we'd asked for, at the beginning of each year, we replenish the equipment repair fund to the equivalent of $35,000. What you're giving us here is the balance in the checkbook, not how much of that $35,000 is left.
Well, when you asked the last time, I mean, where it's sitting is on. One of these reports where it's the. This is the road. I mean, I'm trying to do that.
Yeah,
So it's kind of there, and we're about to, with this warrant, now that the property tax money is here, then there's. A transfer of the money into that, so it's kind of gonna become part of that. Right now, it's just transferred as needed, but the number you were looking for is on the. It was where that 35,000 budget was, it showed you how much you had really. Spent.
Equipment repairs. Page.
Yeah,
one
so
of,
on the town one, and again, sorry if it's confusing, but at the moment, this is kind of where it is, where on the town budget versus actual, that one.
Mhm.
If you look down almost to the bottom left, where you got all these direct tax subtotals, and you've got the equipment repair fund that we've spent 15,593 in so far with a 35,000.
I'm looking at the.
I'm looking at the wrong page.
What page you
What
on?
page are we on?
So it's the first budget page, which is the town of Bakersfield income expense budget versus actual.
Yeah.
The first one.
Page one.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Thank
first
you.
one of those kind of reports.
Yeah.
And then if you look all the way down on the left, when you get into the expenses, and you got all the direct tax ones broken out.
Pretty
Okay.
bottom. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and in that little block of direct tax, the repair that has been spent so far is at 15,593. Do you see that?
Yeah,
Yeah, column one.
Yeah, and 35 was what we came up with, I think.
okay.
Yep.
That you had mentioned way back when. So on the warrant, I believe, with the property tax money now in, the transfer that's going into the repair account, unless I'm mistaken, is what you voted for, 28,000, I think, at your town meeting,
Okay.
less what had already been spent or transferred to pay this year. That was what Kathy
Correct.
said.
Okay.
So I don't know if that answered your question. Does that sort of answer your question? I mean, it's not.
Totally, but it'd be easier for us if, while we, on page one, under equipment repair fund. We'd like to see that balance there rather than just what's in the checking account, because you're just transferring enough after each transaction to cover.
And I guess I wasn't sure if you transferred that after you collected your property taxes, or if you did it during
No.
the year. That was,
When you put the direct tax into it, it'll reflect.
okay. Well, I didn't know if that whole amount just went in there at the beginning of the year. I guess I thought it.
No, when we were trying to figure out how much money we had to fix the trucks with and
Yeah.
where that money was going to come from, it would have been nice to have that right up front, right here. In the
Yeah.
front.
Yeah, I feel like we discussed this last time
Mhm.
too, but that, I mean, that is that's the amount that has been spent,
Mhm.
the 15,593
Yeah, which leaves 19 and, yeah,
and change. Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
19,406.
Will be, again, when you get into your warrants and stuff, I mean, all that money is on a warrant for direct tax
Mhm.
that transfer it all into the repair
Yep.
account, quote unquote, which is what you're seeing on the front page, so.
Well,
I think
the
next
front
time-
page is our quick answer page.
Yeah.
And I guess,
No, that,
Down
that's
in
fine.
Bergen.
No, I'm not trying to talk you out of your quick answer page. I just wasn't sure when some of that money went from account, general fund over into that repair fund. It seemed like along the way, usually people were just sending
When you decide to do the direct transfer.
where if the money's in there.
Yeah.
Or both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but yes, that's where it is today, and it will be in that for next time. It will just be
Thank you,
as part of that warrant. It'll
Yep.
get in there, and
thank you.
if there's any reason why next time around I can't send it because we don't have enough money, then we'll revisit it, but I'll try and have that be the account total.
Yep.
For clarity.
any other questions or comments from the other night?
So when we're doing the budget, what documents do we need from Tom? I know we have this, but is there something else we would like or need?
We need, have you received any of the dispatching contracts, the ambulance contract? We know the fire department contract is on the last one, so we'll have to have Tammy pull that one, but
I haven't
Have you-
seen any contract.
you haven't seen any contracts come through?
The bill comes through, but that
Okay.
would be for whatever contract you already had, I would think.
Okay, if any of that comes through, yeah, I don't know if you need a copy of it, but if you could make a copy and dump that into the
So we
the
have
select
that.
board folder, so we can
Yeah.
use that for budgeting.
Yeah, because we're starting a little early, getting together for the budget for the March meeting day, town meeting day, just so we can get ahead of it, because trying to get it done before,
But there's just some-
We have scheduled budget meetings, either I could
Okay.
attend you, or if you have questions
Which-
in advance for things that might be, again, not clear. then I can-
Which- which actually was the other thing I
That
wanted
was
to
my
bring
big-
up. So we're gonna be
Right,
putting
right.
together some budget meetings or allotting time.
That was
Just at the end of the meetings. So we'll reach out and or request through Tammy that you attend those nights just to get this covered. We're not gonna bring you in every night, obviously, but we'll try to get you in.
Or what we'll do is we'll you know, we'll jot down questions we have for you.
If there's any, they can just
Yeah.
answer with a quick email or
Yeah.
something, then some of it, they used to, might just be able to. Cause you might have to run and look at the computer and say, that $6,400 was some state thing.
Yep,
whatever.
right, yep.
There's a million little
Yeah.
things and all of this.
Bunch of different options it could be, yeah, for sure. That was all I had, and that's all you had in your notes there, Lance. Okay.
Well, I have just couple
Yep.
quick points,
Go
you have
for
to
it.
navigate the waters of property taxes, I think, you came out the other side safely with. Delinquent tax reports for Kathy and refunds that are on there that. I reached out to Vera just to double check, because some of those refunds, if you didn't already know this. Some are going to people, some are going to banks.
Yeah.
Some are going to Sporologic, which manages banks, so it's the bank, but it goes and gets mailed. So I double checked with her on
Yep.
some of those to make sure that. At least,
She will be able to
that's my
answer,
ability, things went to the right place.
she'll be able to answer those questions way better than we ever could.
Yeah, no, yeah, and she did, and she did.
Good.
So, the only one, well, two things, I don't want to tie up here too long, but the one peculiar thing that no one seemed to think this had happened before. Someone came in on tax day with a letter from the state with their address and their name, everything on it, showing that they had a state payment. Won't mention the name or anything, but state payment of $1,286. Now, the property tax bill that we printed, where all this stuff comes through automated from the state and stuff, did not have that, and Sue was in here that day, happened, pulled it up, there was no record of the state sending that payment to this person. What he had, again, Vermont piece of paper that said, you were awarded this payment, yada, yada. So we put that aside, he didn't pay that, we deducted that, and it didn't go as a delinquent tax or anything, so he short paid, or paid probably the correct amount on his property tax bill. Well, when we had a moment to try and figure out where this was, pulled out this letter and went into the tax book. And Kathy was there, and as we're looking at it, she noticed that there's a span number on the property tax bill.
Mhm.
And a span number on the letter from the state. And even though the address and name was an exact match to the property bill, the span number was wrong. On the state, so I mean, I think there's a problem with the state really, but bottom line, this is sort of the backstory there's a point to this story eventually. But we pulled up just to see if that incorrect span number matched someone else, and sure enough, it did. So pulling out the property tax bill, person B ended up getting this payment from the state on their property tax. And also didn't deducted that, well, I mean, the property tax bill netted it out, so they paid what was on the property tax bill with that $1,286 deducted. So.
Somebody owes
Well,
twelve
yeah,
eighty-six.
So the state, I sent stuff off to the state, I haven't heard back, but I guess the question I have, since I doubt the state's gonna send us an extra $1,286 for their problem that they caused us or anything. They gotta at least revise the bills so that we can print a correct bill. And then my thought is, I would then send the revised bill, though it's not gonna make the day probably, to the person who got it incorrectly.
Right.
And explain the situation, and I get a response that's,
I
oh,
think,
I understand, or no, I'm not paying that. And so I don't have to ask you again, if they say, no, I'm not paying that when the dust is all settled, does that become delinquent tax? I mean, there's a payment that really isn't theirs, but they paid.
My thought would be that that's the state's problem, as the state didn't do the span number correctly.
No, I would agree with that. But
Then
just right now.
right now, the town is,
$186 we don't have.
right, I can tell you what's probably gonna happen. Is Bakersfield's gonna be out $1,286.
Probably.
Well, do you want me to at least try? I mean, would it be
You
appropriate
can
to
try.
the person
I
didn't really,
don't feel, personal opinion,
no, it's.
I don't feel it's right to send a bill to somebody who got a waiver from the state saying, or not even a waiver, a tax credit. Saying, you know, this $1,280 or whatever it is there is being paid. That wouldn't sit right with me if I got that from the town all of a sudden.
Wouldn't with me either.
It's a surprise.
I would say what you need to do, Tom, is confirm who was supposed to get this rebate, because maybe the person who got it was actually the one who was supposed to get it, the correct span number.
Oh,
they
yeah,
had the wrong
yes,
address.
the state.
So
Yeah.
it comes down to who was
Yeah.
supposed to get it. And if the person who came in with the letter said, I got a rebate, hey, that's, the state made an error. Your bill is $1,286 more, whatever that number is. Can you come in and please pay the bill at that point? And hopefully they'll come in and pay it, even though they received the paper from the state. And then I would tell them, you know what, you need to go to the state and have a conversation with them, and they can give you $1,286 if at all possible. As for litigation, I mean, it would cost us more to litigate.
So can you say that again? Because the gentleman on the letter did say that he had applied for this, so I'm
I was
almost
just
100% sure
Yeah.
that it is his payment, his name and address, everything was on it.
I'd
So-
contact the state, find out who actually because the other person may have as well. Who knows? Contact the state, have them confirm what this is about. And that, you know, this individual is supposed to get it or that individual.
And I've already sent that off to them. so I
Right.
kind of just
Okay,
wait to hear
perfect.
back
Yeah.
from them
Right.
on an initial response, because it is their problem.
Mhm.
But the reality behind it is to go chase, and I'm not about throwing money away by any means, but to go chase $1,286, it'll cost us more in legal fees and time than to go get $1,286. If the person who was supposed to pay that amount refuses to pay it, I mean, you can mark it as delinquent tax, but we're never gonna get it. You know, if they refuse to pay.
Well, that's why
But I think we should try. I mean.
We should absolutely
I mean,
try.
because it could be someone that says, yeah, I was surprised that I got a payment and
Right.
maybe just pays it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least if you explain.
The
what
state made it,
happened,
yeah, just the state made an error.
And also, we don't want to run into the same situation next year where,
Right.
Well, that's the thing, the state has to correct it.
It's
or
Well,
else
it's not straight it out. Yes, it can't roll over into next year where they got a history of receiving a payment when they really didn't.
yeah,
So that part of it, I agree, the state has to at least do that.
Right.
And then the money issue is whatever you decide.
Yeah.
But
I
if
guess
you're
I would
okay
say-
with at least sending the letter out to said person.
Yeah.
Who didn't really, once we confirm that
Right.
they didn't really,
Shouldn't have received that.
should have received it, exactly, and maybe they're understanding.
I would,
Yeah, hopefully,
I would much rather see that letter come from the state.
exactly as well.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be from a.
Yeah, it shouldn't be from us. It's not,
Exactly. No,
it's,
no,
if it was our mess up,
Yeah.
then I'd say, okay, we send a letter.
Our fingerprints are on
This is the state.
So I would agree with that,
I mean, it's
whatever explanation.
$1,286, that's what I assumed, but I'm pretty sure it's probably against like the homestead tax credit is
Probably.
what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So,
No,
Yeah.
that's a safe thing.
right, so
But again.
let's see what the state comes back with, and then we can go back to that individual and say, you know, unfortunately, the state made an error and you still owe 1,286, and if they complain, go back to the state and say, hey, you guys need to give us 1,286 and handle this any which way you want, because we don't have it, the schools are gonna feel it, so,
There you
you
go.
know, done.
So,
I-
but yes, I would agree that the explanation of it should be on the state letterhead, because it isn't
Right.
Bakersfield at all.
Yeah.
It just feeds into our system and then just.
Right.
Oh, I commend both you, Kathy, and anyone else who helped you track and sue, tracking this down to that point. I mean, that's pretty
Well,
good.
this was a curiosity that nobody remembered this ever happening before, and if it hadn't matched someone else's property span number, then probably would have been okay, because nobody else would have
Right.
received it. It just,
That would have made
they
life
had one
easier.
digit wrong, and it happened to be
Yeah.
a valid span number, and here we are. So thank you for
Yep, that would be,
shedding light on your opinions of this.
Good work.
Yeah.
and I
The final
think,
one, 'cause I know you guys probably have to weigh on this in the library, talked about TD Bank,
Mhm.
getting rid of TD Bank, and since we're all, everything else is community bank. I told Wendy, since I was in depositing tax money every day, I would ask community bank kind of what they had that was the equivalent of TD Bank savings and checking. And what I found, or what they came back with, I'm sure they have several or multiple options. But the TD Bank, we have savings checking.
Right,
Savings has 0.01% interest on it,
right.
which was, I think, $15 in 2023. The community bank and the checking one that's also there, the two TD Bank checking has no interest at all.
Right.
The community bank, sorry, I get the terms right here. Community bank had a checking with no service charges, nothing. That was a 0.01% interest. So my thought was for $12 being the difference between 0.01 and 0.05, and it's probably gonna go down anyway. Might be a good time just to consolidate those two into just one account for the library instead of having a savings and a checking. And I mean, I don't care really. I don't mean, I'm not trying to. But right now, for auditors and everyone else, you got bank statement for the savings. This is library. Bank savings for the checking. We'd already talked about moving from TD Bank to Community Bank, since they were closing the Enosburg office, I think.
Closed, yeah.
And
It's done.
there's a new library trustee, so there's gonna be a new signee
Yeah.
on all the forms and stuff.
Mhm.
So I just don't know. I mean, that's not really me trying to
I
promote
would-
that idea, but at least a time to consider.
I,
Or like
well,
$12 or $15,
and
or
they,
you wanna keep it that way.
they do have a group of library trustees. I would say this is
Their
their
decision.
decision.
Okay.
We could give input, but
That would
it comes
be
down.
The pecking order, I feel
Yeah.
like you guys always had to all kind of weigh in on some of these things.
I mean, for this, like you said, it's not a huge change. I mean, if they say, you know, we want to move from this account to this account because it's gonna make us or break us. Then we would weigh in, but I mean, for $12, if they want to leave it the way it is, because it's easy and they don't have to change anything. I wouldn't-
Library trustees,
Yeah.
what you're saying, in the meeting, 1st of December, I talked to Wendy.
Yep,
And they were gonna decide with their new member, I think, and stuff,
perfect.
what they were gonna do, but I'm never sure how many people have to sign off on
Yeah.
things.
And then you can just give us the, you know, once they make a decision, you can just give us a heads up. Hey, remember the library thing? Yeah,
Given that it's $12.
yeah.
It's
Marginal consequence.
But out of curiosity, because you brought it up, are we saying move all the savings into the checking?
It just make it one account, is all I was saying, because.
Well,
Community has-
checks out of there though, right? So you need a checking account?
Exactly, so it would be a checking with interest instead of a non-interest checking with savings, which is the two accounts at TD
Yeah.
Bank. It's kind of making one out of two
Yeah.
with a reduced interest, really, but yes, but
The only question I would have on that is, as the library is, they're a year ahead. So when their budget comes in, they're not budgeting for 2025, they're budgeting for 2026. And they typically ask to roll over funds from the previous year into their savings for building improvements or,
It's a separate account, it's the capital improvement fund, so I
we
think,
have that separate, like the
Yeah.
whole. building
that's another separate
Yeah.
account.
But it's not a separate account, like not a separate bank account,
Okay,
so
oh,
I
it's just,
don't
it's
think,
just.
I think the bank account is kind of separate from having that total, because that's also on the front page, I
okay,
stuffed that in, even though it doesn't really belong with the bank accounts, the front page that you like to look at.
The
yeah,
improvement fund, yeah,
Yeah.
The bottom corner was where that got kind of stuffed
Yeah.
in, because they were doing all the improvements at the library, and it was on some other spreadsheet, so. Those are all kind of tracked separate, but there's
Yeah.
not a bank account.
no, I
for
understand,
that.
it's
So
just
that, yeah, this is, I think.
same
separate.
account, different spreadsheet.
Right.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
it's an interesting question because this year and it hasn't been approved yet, so we'll wait for approval, but with MERP, a lot of those improvements are going to be done,
Which is fine.
right?
That just may be the fact that if they ask to roll over, you know, $10,000, the taxpayers may vote no because it was all paid for by MERP and they don't need
Right, you don't need that.
$30,000 in that account.
Right.
That's not, I don't
That's
think
a
that's,
separate issue.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
separate
Yeah,
issue.
I just think I'm looking
And I
at-
don't think that's necessarily, that's not something, I mean, technically, yes, but the way we've been typically running things around here, not something we would control. That would be a question put forth to the
Okay.
taxpayers. And they make that call, so.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that
yeah,
answers my
I-
questions.
perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your input and stuff, and that was mostly what I had, I mean, anything else, I'm.
Did have one other thing,
Go ahead.
and it was on the first item that you brought up. The tax credit going to one person and not going to the other person. When that all comes and all the information is gathered and whatever, I believe, and I'll ask Lance, as he's got more years of experience on these than I do. Well, I know we've done a couple, but that would go to the BCA, correct? That does not come to the board?
That would go to grievance, yes.
Yeah. So if they say that $1,286, we're not paying that, then what they need to do is they need to file for a hearing with the BCA, Board of Civil Authority. Then, which includes the select board, it includes justice of the peace, it includes auditors. Right?
Yes.
There's more than just the four of us. It's a rather large committee that gets together. Here's their side of the story. We would hear from you as the information you gathered and stuff like that. And then as a larger group, we would make the decision. So just know that it's multiple steps. It's not you coming back and being like, they decided not to pay, we're good, so.
Yeah, nothing's that easy.
Yeah, so I just wanted you to know that, there's,
I'll start out with the Vermont response and may revisit this, next time around once I have some answers to some of those unanswered questions.
I honestly don't think they're gonna get satisfaction from the state of Vermont, so it probably will go to a grievance.
So, Tom, before you go, two questions on the warrants. First one. All these overpayments, this is what? Is this homestead tax again?
The homestead, most of our homestead payments, or they were things where there was an adjusted bill because something, and the listers could weigh in on this. I don't think I understand it, but something was under homestead. I think Lance had a revised one where something got moved to non-homestead, which changed the calculation and they got a lower amount. But maybe the bank, because they had asked for this way back in advance, had already paid the original amount. So that's kind of where most of those, and the total's about the same as what it was in 2023. I was just looking to see ballpark wise if that was what you typically had. But those were a mix, but most of them were state payments where somebody didn't do it in time and it wasn't there when the original tax bill went out. Does that make,
Yeah, I just wanted to bring those homestead.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, this is, this other one, which has a lot of the direct taxes because we received the
that's all
taxes
from
from the
the
folks.
town meeting minutes that looked like last year, a similar thing where once you had the money,
Yeah, we paid them.
then everybody kind of got their slice of the pie, so to speak.
Exactly. All right, and then my final thing off of this is I think I'm gonna ask this of Mac and you, because it's good. I'm gonna ask this of Mac, but he's gonna need your help. Is I'd like, if we could, to have a breakdown just for the budget meeting of the equipment repairs we've done in the past fiscal year. So like, not like. I
Might not want that.
I'm not asking for a hose. What I'm asking for is in 2023, 24, whatever you want to call it, whatever fiscal year we call this. The loader cost us, the grader one cost us, grader two cost, so that we could just see, what the impact is for the past year and how much the equipment needs to. God, I don't want to know the trucks. I know I don't want to know the trucks, but we'll need it, right? I know the trucks are expensive, but just so we can see and we can anticipate, it'll help us make sure that we keep refunding the repair fund, kind of keeping it at a level. But if we can see as the equipment ages, we may need to increase that amount more than a percent here or there. And this will give us a good idea how to gauge what we need in the upcoming fiscal year.
And some of that's there for this year because I brought that into QuickBooks. I've added a few of these accounts into QuickBooks and checks for that account. So that instead of just writing the check, they're now, won't say it's 100%, but on the bills, usually it was loader, truck number one. I don't understand them all.
That's why I'm saying if you two can get
Some of the
together,
details there. So yeah, I agree.
that'll give us a good idea so that we can work when we do yours, we can get the right amount, we may have, my thing is, and my guess is with the cost of parts and everything, our ceiling that we set or our base, we may need to consider bumping that up. And I just
And I
want to
think
see.
we talked about that the other night in budget.
We touched on it. I just want to get a good accurate number.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate all your efforts, Tom, Mac.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. You guys have a good evening.
You too.
Good
Same.
job. You know, another month and a half, I would have been here a year. That seems very.
Isn't that amazing? It's been a good year. Hey, I talked to Vera. She says you're doing a great job. You barely call her, so congratulations.
Doesn't mean I'm doing a good job.
I kind of said the same thing, but that's a different story.
No, I think, right.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good night.
So we have Ken Foster on the list for visitors.
Well, you know my name, Ken Foster. Ken Foster, I'm a former police sergeant from Lake Placid, New York, years ago. And, of course, I'm a full-fledged Vermont now.
Welcome.
I had a question on the Article 2
Mhm.
on the ballot, and what I'd like to do with your permission, of course, is, get further information as to combining the police agency with other townships.
Mhm.
Now, to back up a little bit. So, Norris, Bob Norris, who was at the house, Saturday.
Mhm.
Wife. And he had explained it. And, I believe he is on the committee. There are 3 townships, as you probably know. There's Sheldon, Bridgeford, and Eastburg.
Mhm.
And he said he'd be more than happy to incorporate Bakersfield in with it,
Mhm.
lessen the cost of it.
So,
So, he's invited me to step on their board.
Mhm.
And, do what we can, you know, so, but I need your permission to do that,
so,
but.
just to help you out with that right there. So their next meeting is Wednesday,
This Wednesday.
this
Yeah.
Wednesday, right?
Let's say,
Yep. And Todd Cosgrove, the 5th member of our board who's out today, is going to also attend that meeting so that we are up to date and gathering all the information that we need to have to make our decision,
mhm,
you know, whether to join this group or to let it play out and see where it ends up. I guess that's about all I have right now. I just wanted you to know that Todd is planning on attending as many of those meetings as he can.
where are the meetings?
At the ambulance, what's it called?
Station.
Emergency building in Enos.
Yeah.
Right across the street from Hannaford. You know where the Hannaford supermarket is?
Oh, in Eastburg?
Yeah.
In Eastburg, yeah. If you look across the street, you'll see the ambulance. There's, that's also a police station. Kind of thing. They
I
use
think it would be great if you went. I mean, the
I-
more information we get, the better.
It starts at
Just
6:30.
to collect information
Yeah.
and bring it back.
Yep.
Here
Did you hear me? The meeting starts at 6:30.
at 6:30.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, Senator, Norris gave us some, well, name dropping, you might say, and people to contact,
Jesse Woods.
Jeffrey Woods,
Jesse Woods.
and, Roger Marco, she's in another area, he's
Loyal.
the loyal county sheriff, right?
He was thinking that they would be willing to work with us as
But-
well,
He's also a
If-
friend of,
if, but it would take. The drive time would take hours off
Right.
policing the area, so
Right,
you'd have to
right.
take that,
so.
you know, from that to come here, but.
And,
These
yeah.
suggestions,
They-
that's all.
Yeah, people, whoever would have to be paid from the time they left wherever.
Correct.
Till the time they get here, and that's less patrol time that's
Mhm.
being done.
Yeah, it's something we discussed with Franklin County Sheriff's Office as well, because they originally said that they charge the amount of time it takes from wherever the officer is, be it a home location or another town, to get to here, and then they charge us on the way out. We had a long discussion and said, we only want to pay one way.
It was one way.
Yeah.
Go far.
They've,
No,
they've.
that's the problem.
Far at all.
The idea was that we had this funds and we were going to see if we could do something and get some hours up here and see how the town feels about it for March, when we have our much larger forum.
Bob Norris, well, he calculated this 50,000.
Yeah,
So he said roughly 70 hours.
11 and a half hours.
yeah,
And shift time, full-time shift. It amounts to 11 and a half hours.
right.
Give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is expensive for 11.5 hours.
It really is. That's why we were very interested in what Enosburg had to say.
Yeah.
But they were not ready to spin anything up at this time.
They weren't.
They weren't.
Yeah.
At our last meeting we had with them, which was only within the last month. I would say.
They're working on it, but
They are working on it.
it takes time to set this up.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if there's anything that, I can do, or, be more than happy to do it.
No, it's great.
So
We
is-
appreciate it.
Yeah,
Is the team over in Enosburg saying that you need something official from us to say that you can attend?
That's, Bob said.
Yeah. Bob says, well,
Your permission to.
and it should be noted up in the minutes.
Yep,
Okay, so.
I'm just-
If you.
I'm reaching out to Todd
Would like me to do
to
that.
put him in touch with Todd so that they can meet up and discuss before the meeting.
Right.
So I just,
Because obviously you have a lot of knowledge being a former police officer, right? I mean, it benefits us, in my opinion,
Absolutely.
to have somebody who's in the know, who's done it for their career, and you're willing to represent the town. That's a wonderful thing for us. To sit there, not that Todd isn't. Todd's in the fire department and he's also very civic. And I think if you two can kind of
Yeah.
work together.
Yep.
If one of you can't make it, at least we have some representation and come back with the information. That would be phenomenal. In my opinion. Now, of
Yep.
course, if we're gonna
I agree.
put something official, I guess I would, if we're all good, I'd make a motion that we allow Ken Foster to represent with Todd, the town of Bakersfield at these meetings.
I'll second that.
Feel about that, sir.
Important.
so the motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Ken, thank you very much,
We
not only for
volunteers.
serving as a police officer, but for willing to step up and help us out. in this endeavor.
So Ken, just if I can,
Yeah.
what would be the best way for Todd to get in touch with you? Cell phone, telephone? And you don't have to give that.
Give the number right at the-
Yeah, you don't have to give it on,
Because it's being recorded.
it is,
Okay.
Write it down.
yep.
Write it down.
And we'll have you write it down on his paper and we.
Yeah,
go
can I-
from there. There you go. No, we have a paper we have to turn over.
You just get it right underneath his name right there, would be
Gotcha.
perfect.
Thank you so much.
I don't
That's
have my
excellent.
glasses on. Where is his name?
Under visitors.
The second,
I would give it this.
Well,
518.
I will need a secretary.
My phone with me, so you're gonna write your number down. Don't say that. Just write it down. Sorry, guys.
no
It's
problem.
okay.
It's,
It's all good.
and I'm sure Todd will be more than happy to have, be able to split the time on this or, have two people listening and.
To do too.
Yeah.
Just,
Well-
know, his brain still works. His body might not
very
work that well, but his brain works.
Well, with Todd being on the fire department, he gets pulled away, so there are meetings he can't make because of events.
And the ambulance
And
crew.
the ambulance, he does a lot of the EMS services for us. So,
Isn't it awful? I don't know my father's phone number. It's in my phone.
Because it's in your phone.
it's your phone, you don't
I
need to
don't know
know.
my children's.
no reason-
See,
No reason to know it, you
You
don't
can
have.
give it to us later if you haven't got it handy.
I know this is terrible, but I almost remembered Todd's home phone number because
I used to.
I used to hang out with.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. I will send that to him and.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Thank you yourself. You want to stay, you're more than welcome to, or whatever you want to do.
Alex is not here because it's the first meeting of the month,
We have other visitors.
so we're good there. We do have other visitors. Just being nosy.
Excellent.
Hey,
That's okay.
we
That's
call
a
that,
good
we
thing.
call that, we
It's
call
nice
that
to see you.
participate.
Yeah, for a
Yeah.
change.
Yeah, it is nice.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you. Roads, Mac, we missed a week. They've all gone to hell.
We've got all kinds of questions and scenarios. I hope you have an hour and a
I
half.
think he's got all the roads in town graded.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Thousand ain't coming out of the.
Yeah.
I thought it was Brigham, but
It was Brigham. Yeah, it was, we said roads, didn't we?
For exhaust.
No, because it was taken out of road, it has to be returned to road,
Like a FEMA?
Just I want to clarify that.
yes,
Uh,
you are absolutely correct, sir.
Stop saying FEMA then.
You said.
You said, you said
We
FEMA.
were talking about it before and I was like, FEMA? He goes, I think it was
Freedom
FEMA.
FEMA,
I couldn't, yeah.
for FEMA,
Yeah.
FEMA.
I talked to Lance, and I talked to Don, Nikki was here, I'm not sure if she heard it or not, but sometime you weren't at that meeting, the Bolt County.
Yes, I had to take my son to Enosburg.
Anyway,
Trust me.
the
Like,
original thing was 20, we were thinking 30 for truck number 1 for that exhaust. It ended up at 20.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, well.
hang on, he ain't done.
It gets better now. Truck number 2 is gonna be 32.
As
Yeah.
opposed to, what did we think that one was gonna be?
We had no clue. I mean, it was a matter of, that one has 2 cans. We were hoping that one of the cans was still decent. He took it apart and he said it was all gone. So, and whereas truck 1 and truck 3, the newer 2 trucks have just the 1 can, but
So that's the truck that's leaving then.
leaving, but it's gotta be fixed ahead of time and it's gotta be inspectable.
Okay,
So
What are we getting for truck 2?
yeah,
I'm not sure off the top of my head, my thought was, and I discussed it with you and Todd, I think for a minute. Was, and we'll have to look into it more, but if you're thinking about going with an extra man or half a man, maybe keep that truck. Because you're gonna have, the exhaust problem's gonna be fixed.
for how long?
That's exactly my comment.
Wow, it's made it, what, 7 years now, 7 or 8 years, I mean, it's, you know, it's gonna be brand new, the exhaust. Just, it's an option, I'm not saying we're gonna do it.
Well, I mean, at this point, that truck should be worth $50,000 on trade-in.
Right, I'm not sure if that's what it's gonna be, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Less 30,
Well,
Well,
right,
that's
but what
the
I'm saying,
question.
but what I'm saying is they said at the beginning that it was gonna be worth roughly 25, I think was the number. Yeah, so now we just jumped 32 into it. That's a $55,000 truck.
yeah.
Well, we gotta find out once it's, we gotta ask them, once it's fixed, what's it worth?
If that's the case, then you have
If he said
Mr.
35,
Allegiance come in here
You can sell it out,
and we talk to him,
you can also sell it out.
We could.
I'm sure you can get that.
Yeah, well,
but it's just,
how much luck have we had selling that other grade?
That's a grader, that's.
yes,
Trucks are different, farmers, you know,
Yeah,
other people can use those things, which is.
Grade is pretty limited use.
yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
well, it's served us, I will say this, having 2 graders has served us well. You got all the roads graded again. They're in great shape.
yeah, I was gonna say, find some wood.
Yeah,
I can tell you, there it is. I can tell you that, the town of Enosburg has followed suit. I saw a new grader sitting in their yard, said, oh, they traded in. The guy from United was at my building the next day and I said, how much do you give Enosburg for that grader with the mower? They wouldn't let me have it. He goes, they kept it.
That's definitely a different situation because it's got a mower on it.
Yeah,
Whereas we were talking 30,000 to put a wing on the newer one, and we had the old one with the wing. You know, it's.
yeah, the wing's not
So
quite as good as the mower, but we're
keeping
good.
the old one, we're saving 30,000 and they're not, what did they offer us last time? Trade in?
20, not even.
Yeah, it was like 20, but that was trading towards brand new ones.
Yeah,
Okay. I mean, at this point, yeah, it's gotta be fixed. We can talk about, we'll see what they,
It's gotta be fixed because when I talked to Viking, they told me you better have the other one ready to go for November,
okay,
and last time I was down to.
it was still sitting there.
He said probably spring.
Okay.
so how long have we been waiting for this?
Well,
The body is such a backup because there's only one,
I know we're waiting for the plow parts, but
we've actually have a space set aside for us, but they are backed up that much because the other two.
but how long?
Spring.
The truck's been there since, what, a month and a half, then it'll stay.
but we ordered that one when, May?
Sir,
Yeah, question?
ask for your truck and the parts and tell them you want to do it here and you want a reduction, watch your truck be done quicker. Ours was. I'm the director of public works for Fairfax, so.
Okay.
Ah,
Nice.
well, welcome. There you go, man.
Already, it's already down there.
The problem is if they show up with all the parts. But I would down the road. Yeah, I would like to see, and I don't feel like this is necessarily your job. But I would like to see either a new bid or trade-in value on that truck after the,
I can have Dan come in or get online, when I find out.
yeah, I feel like if we're dumping this kind of money into it, just to trade it in,
Right.
then we could have traded it in, it could have been their headache.
Right.
Well, that's the thing, they're making us do the repairs. And then it better have a better trade-in
Better
value,
reflect. Otherwise, why do the repairs?
right?
Yeah, if they're giving us $25,000, why pump 32,000 in for 25? It just makes no sense. No,
Right.
but you, this
So we
would
still would have got the other truck is what he's saying, yeah.
we'd be spending $7,000 more to hand it to them. It's just, we gotta get to the upside of this. Don't fix it. Sell as is to someone on the street. And, if we're not gonna get the money out of it. So if you were saying 25, I would expect it to be worth almost 60 grand. Otherwise, why pump 20, why pump 32 in to fix it?
Again,
I know what
not
you're
necessarily
saying.
your job, but if he wants to have that discussion, we can have that discussion here. He's more than welcome to sit in that chair where you are. Cause
And he would.
he would, especially if he wants to sell that $180,000 truck that he's got sitting in the yard down there.
Don't fool yourself. They're lined up to take trucks like.
And that's the problem is they've been the only supplier for so long that they don't feel the need to actually, there is,
But it's not, well, unless you go to New Hampshire, or Maine, or.
yep,
Which is, you get parts.
not an easy way to get parts, but I talked with the guy from, is it, Shelburne Kenworth? He said, if it's got wheels and it comes in the door, we work on it.
Right.
So, I mean, at this point, when it was Clark's, they dealt with you.
Mhm.
They worked with you. Now that it's become this nationwide conglomerate.
Yep.
It's just like the hats we both wear right now. When it used to be the local farm dealer, you got your service. Now that it's a nationwide conglomerate, after they make the sale, it's like you don't exist.
Yeah.
So, let's not make his sale easy. Cause, I mean,
Mhm.
it's our tax money, I'd just as soon it not.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah.
As far as the construction of the roads, everything's good.
Good.
Max said it, or Lance said everything's graded. I haven't traveled theirs much. Still a couple. The main ones are pretty well good though.
Yeah.
Hills are good.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay. And we're hoping that'll be the last time before it freezes.
Right.
Okay.
Unless we have another year like last year.
That
Right.
was a mess.
Yep.
Get a call from Hunter today and the paving is being put off with May.
That was gonna be my next question.
He's. With everything getting, on the state being busy with the interstate and all that.
Yep.
Everybody's trying to get last minute, he asked me if it'd be okay, and he said, we'll shoot for May.
Tell them we got a lock on the price.
But I'm sure that's what,
Make sure we got a lock on the price unless it goes down. We're capped at.
Yeah,
Right.
maximum.
Well,
maximum
we're
amount of
capped
rate.
at, we're capped at, what is it, 96 a ton?
Yeah.
96, 98, something like that. It was just under 100 a ton. What I would say if,
Yeah.
spring season opens up and everybody's in there and they start charging $1.10 a ton.
We're not gonna pay that.
As we budgeted for a certain project.
Gotcha.
Not our fault, the state needs to pay everything, which is good.
Well, yeah, exactly.
It's good, but it's a good problem to have, but they can get it next spring.
I don't travel that interstate enough for it to be.
That's getting pretty good. They got it rolling down. It's like they're almost doing the whole damn thing. I can tell you from from 19 or 20 all the way down,
Yeah, from 19 down to what, 17?
17, I think they've done, yeah, something like that. Yeah, they're right before 17.
And I heard they were shutting plants down too.
Yeah.
That was actually the thing I heard between the last meeting and this meeting, and I was gonna ask you the same thing about those getting paved or if the plants had already shut down, but. That's almost like the only reason they're staying open right now is to finish that interstate project.
They've got some little.
Right, yeah, yeah.
That Johnson stretch on the 15 is pretty good too. Yeah, they run
How many accidents will there be?
from East
89 this
Johnson
winter?
all the way down, they're almost down to Jeff now.
Yeah. They're doing the Boston Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top coat now.
Everything's paid from the roundabout Jeffersonville through Main Street Johnson.
Yeah. Did they get that far? The last time I wrote it, they were short, but that's awesome. Yeah, they did, they're paying a lot, and they didn't do a thin coat. I mean, I think they added like that much, a couple inches of blacktop.
Blacktop off.
Yeah, did a lot of work on it.
MBI.
Well,
That big orange sign on the back that says don't follow and the big flashing lights. You think if somebody would have seen that coming?
I was too busy texting.
It's too busy texting and driving, yeah.
I want to go on the Wayback Machine. Take it back a few.
I don't. I drove that road the beginning of summer when it was dirt.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine doing that on a horse and buggy. Jeez.
No, I mean, a question for Mac though.
Oh, I was like, I'll give you.
The new grader. Have we badged it yet?
No.
Have we stripped the old badges off it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you could see, you could see what it still said in the coloring. I just was wondering, I knew that was,
Can Kathy do that with her machine or is that?
Camera, she's told you need 3 bricks.
what is it, just vinyl?
Yeah. Why can't she do that?
She can, she's gonna do it for like cost, but.
Yeah.
She told you need 3 bids.
No, I mean, if we were bidding that out, I mean, if we're doing something for pennies on the dollar. I don't see the point in getting 3
We don't
bids.
need to bid.
Yeah.
Cutting it out with a cricket, that's a different.
Well,
animal.
there's,
Sue does that. If you need 3 bids.
if you look at the
throw one.
policy, there's
Her sister does it.
a dollar amount where we have to have the,
Right,
and I'm sure this comes underneath that dollar.
right.
amount.
I thought it was,
Inappropriate.
I thought it was
Kathy's
over
doing
500
for the
bucks. or
cost of
something like
vinyl,
that.
just
Higher than that.
Is
But
it?
can we talk one at a time?
Yeah.
If you need 3 bids, I can get you 2 more.
Yeah, I think Lance is right. I think that she only needs 3 bids if it's over a certain dollar amount, which I think was. I know at the school, it's like 3,000 or 1,000.
Somewhere around that.
Yeah, so I would have her check the policy on spending, because I'm pretty sure that does not fall under that account. And if she's concerned that she's the one providing the service and it'd be a conflict of interest, then tell her we'll make a motion and
She can do it.
she can do it,
Yeah.
because she's saving the town money. She's not
Yeah,
it's not gonna cost us nearly as much, so.
At the cost of vinyl? Yeah, that's.
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous to charge that out to.
Yeah.
Like. John could do a good job without a doubt, but it's gonna be significantly more because he's got a much bigger client.
Tax size.
Yeah,
Yeah, the cricket will do it. Sue, like I said, Sue does it. If we have to have 3 bids, she can give one. Like I said, don't give me the number because that's not right, but
right.
after I thought about it, but Sue could absolutely do a bid. But she's not gonna do it just for vinyl. I can tell you that.
Yep. Yeah. Any others on roads? Anybody?
I have nothing else. Thank you.
Got nothing. Seeing none, we'll jump down to board business. Mac, you might want to just hang right there for a quick second. Belvedere Mountain Road certification. The last thing I heard, actually, I'll go to you for that because it was.
Yeah.
It was that it wasn't as cut and dry as we were hoping.
Nope. So there was an email which
I think
I
that was where I read that. Yep.
forwarded on the 29th of October, and I'm guessing none of us have read it.
I think that's where I got that
Is that what you got?
information
Because you
from.
and I had a quick conversation, so you,
That might have been at that too.
yeah, so the certification is actually a whole separate thing that happens between the state and the town, and that's every year we certify all the roads. So what we need to do is actually certify. We are going to be, hang on, I'm just trying to. make sure I'm reading the right piece here. So in a situation where a road has moved, as we believe this one has, we have to go through a statutory process to put it back to where we think it should be.
Well, I don't believe we think the road has moved. I think the problem is the actual road bed itself has eroded
Has
past the
eroded.
point of recognition.
Right,
We still think the road is where it was. Because everybody who was at that meeting on the mountain
Agreed.
was in agreement that the
Yep.
road went here.
yep,
I mean, what we were looking for was any documentation that the town had, which we
Right.
ended up finding. That matched where we thought it was compared to, and which Baker's map would have gone off of, would be the town. Map that was in here that says the road went here, so.
so, and we have a survey which was done fairly recently.
On Baker's
Baker's
property,
property.
yeah.
On the Baker property,
So-
yes.
I don't know, and I'm sorry, I'm not familiar enough with where their property ends and the road,
Mhm.
so I don't think you have to go beyond that. Or if actually we're not even, I think the issue is just where their property is. I don't,
It's literally
That
where the
bit.
pond was.
Yeah.
After that, the road is defined.
is really
Correct.
defined.
Yeah.
So,
So
It's
the
literally
the recent survey done by the surveyor hired by Bakers establishes the northern edge
Yep.
of the road.
Right.
Okay, and all the maps that we've looked at agree that the road followed the southern border of the Baker, what is now called the Baker property.
right,
So we're not moving the road.
and as long as we're not moving the road, then we don't have to go through this process.
Okay.
If there's any issue with the road needing to be moved because of erosion or whatever, then we would have to go through a very long process.
Yeah.
But if we don't need to do
Which
that,
would include ANR and, yeah, the whole.
we have
that's
to,
true.
we have to send notices with 30 days and do site visits and all sorts of fun
All
stuff.
budding properties.
So if we have a survey, I mean, if we have it surveyed and we know that that's the road, then
Yeah,
The
so
challenge is keeping people on the road and putting up something that prevents them from going off the road to go into the mud with their.
that would take a trailer load of Jersey barriers. And the way to, well, I mean, we do have a way to get it there at this point, but it's not the smoothest of.
Oh, my lord, when you get to a certain point, I don't see you driving any kind of.
So we
vehicle
had-
up there.
we
Yeah.
have that group.
Excavator.
Okay.
Yeah,
We can take a bus and shoot the tires out and call it a day. Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, they didn't even shoot the tires out. That's the worst part.
So
They didn't
we
open-
do have a group of people who are willing to help improve that road. They just didn't want to start anything until they had it confirmed this is where the road is.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna go out and do much if the weather's gonna. start
Well, it's
changing.
closed now.
Right, it's
Yeah.
closed.
So
That's
we're
a-
not,
Well, we say it's closed, doesn't mean people aren't up there doing what
I
they
know.
want.
Right.
But yeah,
So I guess the question is how, as a board, do we want to maintain the established road? We know where it is. There's no question on our maps or the abutting property maps as to where the road is. We went up there, we did the site visit.
Mhm.
It was pretty well informed as to where the road is per the state employees that were there. The abutting landowners, the landowners that have been up there for, I don't wanna say 100 years. but
generations.
Generations. Everybody said the same thing that agreed with the maps.
Mhm.
How do we now go about defining that without
Our,
re-graveling the entire road?
our first step is to certify the road so somebody can work on it. So we certify that this is where it's located, as according to this map and that map. We'll have to reference the maps.
Right,
And then negotiate with the ATV Association to see exactly how much work they're willing to do. They're willing to do that work at this point. So I would suggest that we start there.
yeah, the challenge is what medium we're gonna use to prevent people from exiting said road. So, I mean, you can't put like containers up there, they're wide and they're big, it would be great, but it's wide and big. Unless the Baker family is willing to sacrifice their property so that we can make the road the proper width it's supposed to be. We need something that's much more,
and we have established that that's a narrower road
Mhm.
than the
It's
other
not three
roads in
roads,
town. It's
yeah.
not a 3-rod road.
No, it was a two,
It's a 2-rod
Yeah,
road.
that's it. Right, so, it's a challenge, that's all I'm saying, so what would definitely prevent people from going off there is something very large and heavy, so you can't knock it down or roll over it.
Jersey barrier.
So there's a
You're gonna have to use
there's a
concrete
couple of
barrier.
things here. We, in talking to this group, and it's people from the Four Wheeling Association and the state and the property owners. So there is a certain amount, and I'm not gonna naysay it, but there's a belief that people will do the right thing. If they don't do the right thing, i.e. stay where they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
then we will have to take action, and that might be closing the road. And I know we've said all along that we're not gonna do that.
So the problem is.
If the ATV Association and or the town of Bakersfield establishes a roadway, I feel that most of the people will follow the roadway.
Yeah,
There's going to be some that don't, there's no denying that.
The problem is, and I said it when we were up there, is we have one set of landowners that are without a doubt vocally saying they do not want ATVs on their property.
mhm,
There's another set of landowners that will send county foresters to say they don't want don't want ATVs or 4-wheel drive rigs on their property, but they have not showed up or voiced an opinion in any way, shape, or form other than contacting the state and saying.
It doesn't matter,
Josh,
because it's private roads.
That the 2-rod right of way is neither landowner's property.
Right.
And
So
that's the only place that.
but what I'm saying is, we're saying, let's take this, let's say these are each a rod. We're saying you have the right to drive here,
That's correct.
okay? If Lance goes up there being a delinquent and decides to go south,
And you.
our
there's gonna be somebody
jurisdiction
that doesn't.
ends here.
Correct.
If this landowner or this landowner is not willing to file the correct complaints in the correct way, we don't have any leg to stand on. We can say, yep, they were on our road until they turned.
Yep.
Much the same as you can say to any person that goes through a cornfield. Yep, they were on our town road.
Solve that.
Well, that's
Yeah.
what your main complaint is, though.
So, but if we get, yeah, but part of the issue is people say that they don't know where the road is. Which,
Well, the one person.
I know,
went
but
off-
it's-
off road around the tree, I mean, we were on the road and I was looking at that, when we go past the basin, or what do they call it, the arena,
Yep,
right? And we kept going down,
Mhm.
there was a whole section right where, hell, I could barely walk on what they're calling a road to begin with. But they went off around the tree, did some donuts, came in, I mean, you could see that they want the mud. And they're chasing the mud, that's really what they're chasing.
yeah,
Yeah.
Cause it's neat and it throws up stuff, it makes their tires dirty and their.
But it's not our
Right.
jurisdiction.
Right, so the question becomes this, because we had the state environmental come in. If we mark the road because people are claiming they don't know where it is,
mhm.
and we already saw them move the markers when we put the tentative markers up, but if the state put up, but if we mark the road and they go off the road, what happens if we decide that's no longer a class 4 road and make it a trail?
That might be an option.
And if it becomes a trail, I believe, I could be wrong. Todd's not here and he did a lot of the research. You're not allowed to have motor vehicles up there.
Exactly.
So if you turn it,
not necessarily. The one road that we've thrown up to a trail,
yeah,
it was agreed upon by all abutting landowners.
Yeah.
That would not have any motorized vehicles on it.
and we would have to do something. The only other option, turn it into a trail.
So the only
Gate
other,
it off.
so the only other problem with that is this road does not stay within the town of Bakersfield.
It
Correct, it goes
down.
across.
It goes to Belvedere.
Belvedere, right.
Um. I mean, you could probably put a gate at the town line, or
Mhm.
you could say this is a town trail as of here. But again, you have to have permission from every abutting landowner to gate said property or
Right.
said road. And then you have to you have to get Belvedere to agree that they're not gonna let people.
Well, Belvedere can let them up to that point. Once they cross into Bakersfield, you have to follow the ordinance law.
You mean like the one that says stay on the roads with your ATVs?
Hey, dude,
I'm just saying, you're going around in circles here and it's.
Well, that's what, the option is they stay on the road and the road gets closed.
You're trying to control the people that we have no jurisdiction over. We have no problem with the people that follow the trail,
Right.
and we have no jurisdiction over the people that don't. It's up to the landowner to file a complaint with the proper departments.
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
So if you have the road, right? You have the road, two rod road, right? And if we put barrier here and here, that it only becomes down, the people can cross through it. And we put barrier here and here. Still problem, the challenge is we have to put it in such a place that they can't go around it. Right? And that's the challenge to begin with. But
You can only barricade that road.
No, that's fine.
Turn it into a trail, and if
That's-
all the abutting landowners agree.
agree to it.
What we said is we want to mark the road.
Mhm.
And it was, what if they don't stay off the property? Don't stay on the road. And to me, we should go up and mark the road again. The right way, like put in the things, and if it requires the concrete barrier, what do you call them? Jersey barriers? Okay, if it, if it requires the
That not gonna
barriers,
use them?
is that what you guys call them? It's called.
That's what.
I've never
That's what
heard
you're
that.
calling concrete barriers, but whatever. If you put the concrete barriers up or wood, because it's more natural, right, with something between it, down logs, whatever. If they go off of the road, then we have to do something.
No,
The landowners have to.
The landowners have to-
No, the landowners have to come back to us and
Yes.
ask us to close the road or convert it to a trail.
There's another piece here before we get to that. One of the reasons why we're looking for confirmation of where that road is because of the what are they called, to put the water, to direct the water off the road.
The runoffs?
It's not culverts, it's across
Runoff.
the road.
Oh, water miss.
Water baths, thank you very much. So we were all set to do that this fall, but the folks that were gonna do it didn't know where the road was, and so they didn't want to do the work.
We weren't even
So-
putting water bars in the portion that the road's
No.
undefined.
I know, but it's,
Oh my God, that
This
makes.
has become such a heavy chore trying to preserve the people that have the ability to
Yeah.
four-wheel.
it is.
It has become to go across the mountain and come across. This has become hours and hours and hours of people sitting in meetings, people coming out to the road, looking at it, talking about it at this meeting. We spent a lot of time trying to preserve four-wheelers' rights to enable them to go do it. Mark the road.
That's
If
not,
they don't follow the road,
but that's not even what we're trying to preserve at this point.
well, we were trying to preserve, well.
No, I don't, you could close that road to ATVs. We've done it before. Guess what happened?
They still go up.
They go up there.
Well, you close the road and make it so they can't go up there is what I'm saying.
That requires a action that we legally cannot make.
If we convert that road to a trail,
I don't think we're there yet. We said that we would do these things, and so I think we need to do them before we just.
Mickey, that's why I'm saying.
The other thing is-
He's talking about he's saying if they don't follow it, he's saying we have no recourse. I'm saying convert the road to a trail and shut it down.
What did we do at Sheridan's? Is that the,
That is the road that had all
yeah,
agreement from all abutting landowners.
so we know that
And
that
who's
is.
the
an
abutting
option.
landowners? Baker, who wants it? Wants them to stop going on her property.
Yep, that's on the north side,
Who's on the south side?
Manchester.
I don't know if they were here at any meeting.
No,
they weren't,
They're not.
they
the
are.
county forester, excuse me, represented him.
They represented them?
Yes.
The county forester represented Manchester, yes.
So
Manchester's concern,
they did say that they wanted something done.
their concern.
Right.
They didn't represent Manchester as their voice, just this was the
Well, I
concern
think
that
that's
they
the
had.
thing. We had to talk to them too. And who owns the other side?
I
Where
don't
county
know.
line is.
You'd have to, where the county line is? You
Between the
mean,
two.
I have no idea. You'd have to look. I know Maple Horizon owns a
think
section.
I think it's those three.
Is it just those three?
think so.
Well, there's gotta be more, cause on the south side of Baker's, down at the initial, at the first landing, is that Manchester's from there,
I
on the
think-
right side, all the way up through? And then once you get past the pond on Manchester's, I think it becomes Maple Horizon. And then on the left of the road is Baker's heading up the hill.
So our first step is to mark the road,
Correct.
either by concrete, wood, whatever, and keep them all on the road as best we can. If they.
Putting
go
Jersey
over the road,
barriers up there is gonna be prohibitively expensive.
So I don't know if we can get in there with those, but I hear you. I know you're saying in this.
Oh, we can get it in
We can
there.
get in there, but it's going to be costly.
And that's the other thing. We've got one road on a mountain that we're talking the taxpayers are gonna have to foot the bill. That's why I'm saying if we just had down trees and stack them, it'll probably be cheaper. Than I'm watching Lance.
Where are you getting your down trees?
Well, I got a ton on my property you could drag right out. I don't care. They're.
You're right back up to the same price again.
Well, if they're, if.
So let's
Wait,
look
there's
up
not a
there and see what there is. There's one that was, we identified a couple that could.
We don't own it.
Trees.
On that.
You've
side.
only got
Because
you've only got
it wasn't the
a
Baker's
two rod right away.
We,
Yeah,
We don't have the authority to touch any tree outside of that two rod right away.
right.
Well,
So-
we can ask if Mary's willing to donate down trees. It's a lot
can,
cheaper to
yeah.
that. Then we can make the block going right on down. And not so that a wheeler can go across it or a truck. It's gotta be high enough. That they damage their vehicle versus, hey, this is a really cool jump. I can just jump over it, you know, Put it, you know, you're laughing. Listen, you're laughing.
You put the wood down there, chainsaw, gonna take out.
Well, then that's the problem. Then they've taken away the right to use the road. I mean, you know. We marked the road, the state marked the road with flags, right? The state marked the road with flags and they moved the flags.
within,
They moved. the flags.
within hours.
Right, exactly. So right there, you're seeing that unless we put something heavy and more permanent up there, they're gonna do it. Hell, they said someone brought an excavator up there to move stuff. You know. I feel for the four-wheelers. I feel for the people who need to go across Belvedere into Bakersfield using that road. With what? I have no idea. I
Everything.
nearly broke my leg walking it. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying, forget it. Anyhow, you know, I think we need to decide and seriously decide how far we want to take this and what it's gonna cost the town.
Agreed.
Cause we spent, that lady over there spent a heck of a lot of hours
That's
representing us.
okay. I said I would, and it's like,
Yeah.
we said we would do a thing, and I just think we need to follow through.
We need
Did,
to follow with what we said.
And
Jarvis, Mike, which one? Jarvis was the surveyor.
Michael,
Michael. Did he do the survey?
no,
He
it
did not.
was,
the name's on the map. We read
Sammy
it.
gave me the name the other day.
Yeah, we read
The
it.
quickest and easiest way to establish a northern right-of-way boundary for that road is to have that surveyor come back and stake it.
Without a doubt. From the corner where it comes down off the ledges
Yep.
and stake that corner around to the other
It's,
side where it's.
Then Amblos, Button surveyors.
Button?
Button,
But the question is, what are they gonna
People,
put between
that-
to show the road?
no,
And how long is it
I'm
gonna last?
aware of Button, yes.
okay,
What do you mean? What are they gonna put between?
Well, okay,
They're gonna put-
metal stakes
yeah.
versus the wood. So we're pounding the metal stakes, we leaving them up and attaching something to said metal stakes.
It gives us a place to start.
Oh, you're saying for us, not to keep people on the road.
No, we're saying,
We
Exactly.
need to establish that line,
What do you think that's gonna run us?
thousands. This is the reality.
It is, and the problem is, I'm pretty sure it's not the people in the town of Bakersfield, maybe it is a couple of young ones that are doing this. It's people coming from different places tearing it up, I can't say 100%, but I'd like to think that.
Is that a quarter-mile run?
cross that swamp? Probably not even. It's not that far. I mean, you're only going down through the brook. And then once you get to the top of the ledges on the other side, it's pretty well defined. It goes to the left. Now, what you've got to do to keep them from going straight is. I mean, that's just.
Barriers, some sort.
You slap him from.
My arms ain't long enough. My hand would get numb before I got through, I think.
Not gonna solve this problem tonight.
Right.
right, but
But
what
I think-
do we want to
I
do?
think what we have established though is that the road position is established. That's
Okay.
not in question. So I think we're not recertifying the road.
Okay,
No, we may have to reestablish where it was because the four-wheelers and the activity up there has moved where it apparently is, from what it was. And that is gonna take a surveyor. Because all the old marks,
And we can't
benchmarks
use-
are gone.
The one we have from the bakers.
We can.
Yes,
We would have to use their surveyor though to come up and set the
that was,
stakes.
that was
That's what-
done by a licensed surveyor. Button is a licensed surveyor. And, we can take that to court. And all the maps show that the southern edge of that Baker property is
And nobody's,
Sutherland.
nobody's disputing that. No landowners are disputing where
No.
that road is.
No,
That's not the question at all.
We need to establish where.
We just, not, well, we need to
Mark.
mark where the established road is.
So does the surveyor have?
And the surveyor is the person marking.
I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
I mean, even
Nope.
though we've had surveying, and we've participated in surveying projects.
Right.
We're not state certified.
Right.
So do we want to ask him to do that, and how much is that gonna cost?
Yeah.
I think that's what we need to ask him, how much it's gonna
That's,
cost.
that's the first step. How much would you charge?
And you need to establish a line
Yeah.
where you know, on his map. We need to establish a start point, mark from this point. Where you have the road established around that corner. To the point where it goes into the woods, where it's back to established as a gravel road. So gravel road through the brook, through the bog, to the other gravel
Yeah.
road. That's what we need them to establish. And then from that point, 2 rods.
Spot where fire EMS can get to.
No,
No,
well,
I tried to imagine.
depends on how creative you wanna get.
you can walk there.
You're six. You
Yeah.
might make it, but yeah, it will now because they,
No, they haven't.
oh, I thought
They didn't wanna work in the right away unless we gave
They
them.
haven't, no.
Oh, I thought they'd done the staircase.
So this would be a on foot with a basket evacuation if anything ever happened. Yep. And just so you know, all the forestry students are now certified for on foot basket evaluation, so they should be joining you guys.
Send the chopper in like they do on Deadliest Catch with the boats and just lower it down. There you go.
Students joining the fire departments for these two hours.
I don't think I have, do I have a Bakersfield student? I have one Bakersfield student.
Well, there are no camps or even up there
No, there's
in
not.
this area.
You'd actually probably be quicker to go to Belvedere. To be honest with you, it'd be safer.
Is there an ATV club that's
Yes.
Yes.
requesting this to be done?
No, they're trying to protect the road to stay open. They were.
They're volunteering their time and offering to pay for some materials to do work up there. But our
So-
first responsibility is to establish where the road is.
What happened was a landowner filed a complaint with the county forester and the state. I call them the AMPs, best management practices for water. And because what is happening up there is there's a feeder brook that comes into this 3-4 acre beaver pond.
It depends on which level.
Depends on which, yeah, it depends on how much water there's. 3 to 4 acre beaver pond probably. The ATVs, UTVs and 4x4 vehicles, Jeeps, what have you. Are going in and absolutely destroying a wetland. To the point where there was what was that dam, 6 feet tall?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably a 6 foot tall dam, and through a section of this 6 foot tall dam, there was a path where it was obvious that wheelers had got in there and just chewed it up until the dam blew out to create more wetland for them to play in. So,
It suits.
that's.
That's another issue.
So what has happened is, state and county water enforcement and forestry departments have came to Bakersfield and have said this issue needs to be rectified. Now, I'm not sure still how it became the town's issue.
Right.
Because in my personal opinion, and I will say that again, in my personal opinion. if they're using the road and then driving off onto private property, that's the landowner's concern. I'm not saying that we're against them, but if somebody drives off of 108 and blows donuts in the front yard of, I don't, your house, I don't know if you live on 108 or not, but anyway, drives off the main road, does donuts in your yard, and then gets back on 108, you can bet your butt the state isn't gonna pay for who blew the donuts in your yard.
No, it fell to the town of Bakersfield because the whole area has deteriorated.
But that's what they're doing.
Well, the whole area has deteriorated so much, you can't tell where the road is.
Yeah.
So they want us to establish the road's location so they can do further work. Because they don't want to do any work in an area that shouldn't be the town of Bakersfield's right of way. So we have to certify the right of way for that road. And we've gone back 150 years.
Yep. Roughly.
150 years, and we have maps. And we have this southern border of this property. And the road has always followed that border. This property was recently surveyed a couple of years ago.
Oh, not even.
More
Not
recently.
even,
than that.
more recently than that.
Mhm.
So that line is established by a licensed surveyor. So they're asking us to certify that that is where the road goes so that they can do some work up there.
Yeah.
Bakersfield has right away on.
Well, we have a two rod road
Two-rod
through
road.
there.
Yeah.
We have a two rod road through there. Which I
I
looked
will-
up what a rod equals, by the way, but.
I will reach out to the surveyor.
About 16 feet.
3 rods is 49 and a half.
Yeah,
I was gonna say,
a rod is like six.
I think a rod is close to 16 feet,
Yeah.
yeah.
A rod is, yeah, 6.
So
just
like
about
32 foot
16
wide
feet.
road. But the thing is, it kind of, we took more of it, because what happened was the homeowners, the landowners are concerned. And then, of course, we wound up with one of the fullest houses we had that's not town meeting day. Of all kinds of folks, which is wonderful. We're glad to see them. ATVers, four-wheelers, you know, you name it, they were here, club people, homeowners, you know, in the town of Bakersfield were here. And people were like, hey, so we were like, okay, we'll take a look. Right?
I don't know how to translate
And
that.
the road was tentatively marked off by the EPA lady, or like the wetland lady before she retired.
She connected with A&R somewhere, somehow.
And she marked the road, but the guys came within hours. They went up and moved the markings because it blocks them from doing what they want.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult thing, to Josh's point. We don't own the land to the left and right of the road. But the argument, the case is they don't know where the road is, even though we marked it and they moved the markers. So then it becomes, how do you keep them on the road? And we can't.
Well, the person that can establish where it is, Button, the
Yeah.
surveyor.
Yeah.
Has recently surveyed it. He can go back up, establish
Pins.
what will be the center line for the road. Because each party is gonna lose 16 and a half feet
No,
to make a 33 foot right of way, which is 2 rods.
Right.
so you're, yeah. Not if we've established that the marker on the road is the southern boundary,
Oh,
then it would be from that point
Over
38.9 feet
I'll have
or
to, we'll have
such.
to look at the deed to see.
Without a doubt, yeah.
But
Long and short, is,
generally speaking, in a situation like that, you own to the center of the road.
once the road's marked,
I know, I just wanted to be difficult.
You're being an ass.
there's no guarantee people are gonna stay on it.
So we can't fix that problem now. So in the interest of moving this discussion along. because
Thank you.
Let's have a 6 a.m. flight,
Who made it 6 a.m.?
Who built your flight?
not me.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so just, I will go ahead and talk to the surveyors, see if they can give us an idea of what it would cost to have them go do what we just said.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a number and we can decide, is it worth us doing that or not?
And the sad part is, Nikki, that they did this, whenever they did the surveying, they staked it.
So,
That's
And
done.
those stakes are all gone.
I know,
okay.
but we
So,
can.
are you good?
Number will make that decision.
Are you good
I
with-
was good about.
Are they
that.
gone?
Okay, the next one is the Luno property. We still have no movement on that. Warrants and reports have been signed and gone through. Budget building discussion, we're gonna table till next time. Review the mail. Did you grab the mail? I didn't grab the mail. I didn't grab any of my stuff this time. I apologize. Brigham Academy update.
I have another interested party,
Oh,
and they're waiting. My computer has been down. They're waiting for me to send them some information, so.
Okay.
I am going to, since it's tentative, I'm going to refrain from naming the parties. If it becomes more concrete, I'd be happy to, and with their permission, I would be happy to do so.
no mail. Perfect. Mails reviewed, Brigham Academy update complete. Any others, John?
Before we go, I do have a quick thing.
I asked Sean first.
I'm sorry. Well, I was out of the room, so I hear what you said about it.
No, go ahead.
So this is just a quick comment from after our meeting last week, before the election. When we were talking about Brigham, there was some pretty vehement statements made about Section 8 housing. And I'm not advocating, I'm not sitting here saying that we should be looking at that. It just concerned me because no one said it, but I think the implication was Section 8 housing equates to drug use and violence and all the bad things we don't want by our school.
Statistics prove that.
Well,
I agree
that
with you.
aside, all I'm saying is, and I just want us to think about some of the people who do benefit from Section 8 housing. I don't want us to perpetuate
That.
a stereotype without the science. And I
So-
didn't want to get into the conversation that night.
No.
Just felt
So
that we were
that.
gonna find some people and that didn't.
That
go good.
has been. And not a board, I guess I can't say that. That has been a shared opinion. Section 8 has been the term used, whether it's being used correctly or not.
Yeah.
Section 8, low income. Basically, that has been a no-go since the very beginning of these talks. And I
Absolutely.
think what we wanted to make clear was senior housing is about the only housing that we're, as this board, are looking into entertaining the thought of in that
Our
location.
working, senior housing, or working class housing.
Yeah, and I really am not,
Says, does the select board of Bakersfield want to present the opinion that you are against Section 8 housing?
knowing that there are people in this community who would need it, who benefit from it, who are worse off than some of us. We're stereotyping, and they're taxpayers too, and I think we run the risk of making people feel, well, you know, that's not right, that's not me, that's not who I am, and
I don't
just saying
think
be
that
kind.
we've ever condoned or condemned. Either I know I've never condoned or condemned.
not here, it was the statements that were being made from the floor and people
Right.
with the best
I was
intentions, I
gonna
know where they're coming
Say,
from.
I thought I'd been very careful not to say anything like that.
I'm not talking about anybody on the board, I'm saying when those statements were made from the floor, I didn't say anything that night because I felt it would have derailed that conversation and we just didn't need to go there.
Right.
Because none of us have even thought about anything other than senior housing.
Right.
Well,
I just
one
want-
of the projects was targeting a working, what he termed a working class
Yeah,
apartments.
I mean, I think it's gonna come up. This thing passed with a lot of momentum. I mean, it was not a close thing. So there are gonna be conversations again in the future.
I think,
I understand where people are coming from, but I just think we need to be careful, as Ginger says, with our words. And to not allow that kind of stereotyping to dominate the conversation. That's all. I didn't want to get into a huge discussion about it. It was just an awareness thing. And I appreciate you letting me spout.
I think, yeah, I agree. So that has been heard. It's on record. Thank you for making it heard. Any others?
so mean. No,
I
I have no others.
Pardon?
Is housing.
if someone came forth with a plan to turn it into, some sort of, business center, I would certainly entertain that.
Yeah.
Nobody has stepped forward with that.
I think it's up to the,
But for. I know it was discussion we had when we went home. Jobs.
Good.
I mean, it was a big concern listening to the board. That we have an elderly community, and we're, I mean. I'm not giving you a girl, kids are growing, I have lots of grandkids, and. You know, I understand the need for.
It,
You know.
four out of the five,
but
entities that have considered a project there, had targeted it for
Housing.
elderly housing, older housing. I don't want to use a derogatory term or mislead. But one of them was, open to anybody, but he was targeting, a working class.
I think the best term is.
He's concerned that it's in our school parking lot.
Yeah, well, it was a school, so, I think the key term is rather than. I think it's over 55 communities. It's the term you're looking for is usually what they term that as.
Okay.
But
Yeah, but they also call them fixed income facilities. which
Right.
You're on a certain fixed income.
Yep.
No matter what age.
I don't like that.
you can.
Fixed income facility.
you're eligible
that's
to
a-
fit within a modern.
Politically correct term, yes.
I think the thing is that whomever wants to purchase the building needs to come with a business case. What they present is really what, if they want to, as I said the other day, when people are asking, if they want to put a bowling alley in there.
And if
I was
there's
hoping
a
to make a
select
great
board with a business plan that says it will work, because we will be looking at, things like that.
Right, I mean, that's the key.
If somebody had come in with like, they wanted to, I don't know, communications, IT.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Open it up for like, you know, younger generation to bring in the younger generation.
right.
You know, whatever, I was just curious as to if you were open to something like that.
At this point,
We are open
it's-
to,
it seems like. It seems like we're open to just about anything, even if that's.
Sounds like they've been open for 30 years.
That's right. It's actually been closer to like 100, but.
We did pass it, move on, that's why.
Yeah.
About 40 years.
Right,
4 years.
and that's the thing, and honestly, unfortunately. Or fortunately, we wanted the town to weigh in on this. But, we did have 5 people when we were trying to talk about this and put it on the actual ballot. 5 different organizations.
Yeah,
Same with the law enforcement presence in our town. It seems like since I've been out here, there's more hesitation to make a decision. You'd rather throw it on a committee or listen to one person, but we need to start making decisions to move forward, and then people see that we want change. And then we can move forward, because we
Right.
just have to push way the people out of the way, because you see the better side.
Right.
of What the ending outcome's gonna be.
Well, the best thing was that we had, 775 people vote, which is over 75% of the town. The town has spoken of what they want. So even though there are naysayers out there who don't, the town overall has says this is what we want. For the remaining 24% that didn't vote, they gave up the right to have an opinion. They didn't vote for it. So we know what you want. We're gonna move forward with what we were told. And that's the key thing. Lance has been trying to, since I've been on the board 3 years, and I know since I've been listening and probably for, I don't even want to guess how long, he's been dealing with Brigham as one of the sole people for the town representing us, trying to get this project to move forward. And unfortunately, there's always something.
Did you know that INS wanted to purchase Brigham?
Yes.
And that was voted down by the people of Bakersfield.
The beauty is now,
That's-
there comes a time when
Yeah.
action has to be for some.
yeah, well, that's, the time is, as I said during the meeting, you got 3 options in front of you. There's only 3. You rehab it yourself, you sell it and let someone else do it and rehab it, or you knock it down. There are your 3 options.
They have buried in the backyard.
Yeah.
To get it cleaned up,
Yeah,
have them come forward, and if they can't. Here's a contract, it's
Right. That's exactly it.
No,
So
no.
I come in and go to putting that on the ballot, no matter who showed up or not, because.
Yeah.
At least it brought people out here for a discussion.
Yeah.
But
And
number two, now you see what your silent majority wants.
Right.
And let's move forward with doing something.
And the beauty was, it wasn't close.
Others said.
Yeah. Yeah,
That voted yes.
66% of the 75% that showed up said, sell the damn thing for $1. So, or, you know, sell the darn thing, if it's only $1, we'll go with it, kind of thing, so, there we go. With the
Well,
board
we left
position.
ourselves a little wiggle room there.
Yep.
If they don't want to put community space in it, we can negotiate
A sale,
a sale that is agreeable on by the select board and the contractor.
so.
Yeah. We've left a lot of room for a lot of negotiation, so.
Yep.
Hopefully we can move forward with that.
Yes, I have no others. but
No others. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Just before you leave, just for attendance for the meeting, we'll need to jot down your names. No,
Only because while you were speaking, so you're on the minutes.
You're on the minutes, you got it, yeah, too bad, you lost your rights, and be anonymous,
now,
all three of you.
now you can get him.
I make a motion that we adjourn for the evening.
I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Right.
I
Any opposed? Have a good night.